Hello everyone, welcome to the solution of LeetCode problem 1929 named Concatenation of Arrays. In this problem, we are given an integer array. Suppose in the first example, our integer array contains 3 elements, which is 1, 2 and 1, and we have to concatenate the 2 of this array. Anyways, the concatenation means the input array is 1 to 1. So we have to place 1 to 1 at the first position of our resultant array. And after placing 1 to 1, we have to again place the 1 to 1 after it. So our final result will become 1 to 1, 1 to 1, which is the concatenation of the 2 of the input array. That means if we put 2 arrays similar to the input array 1 to 1 and we concatenate them, then we will find 1 to 1, 1 to 1. In the second example, the input array is 1, 3, 2, 1. So if we concatenate 2 of this input array, then our resultant array will look like 1, 3, 2, 1, 1, 3, 2, 1. This 1, 3, 2, 1 is similar to the first occurrence of the input array, and this 1, 3, 2, 1 is similar to the second occurrence of the input array. Anyways, I hope you understood the problem. Now let's move on to the constraint. In this constraint, the array length can be in between 1 to 1000, and each of the array element can be in between 1 to 1000 as well. I hope you understood the constraint. Now let's move on to the solution. Here, in the first example, the input array contains 3 elements, which is 1, 2, and 1. Suppose the name of our input vector is A. So we have to take 2 similar arrays. Anyways, we have to take another vector which is similar to the input vector, which is again 1, 2, and 3. Now, if we concatenate these 2 vectors, our resultant vector will become 1, 2, 1 and 1, 2, 1. This 1, 2, 1 comes from the first vector, and the remaining 1 to 1 comes from the second vector. Anyways, let's see how can we solve this problem by using an algorithm. At first, we are given one input array. Now, for storing the result, we are taking one vector. Now we have to use a for loop, which we can iterate all of the array element. At first, we are in the first element, which is 1. And if we find any element here, we have to insert it into the vector. So we insert 1 here. Again, now we are in the second element, which is 2. So we have to put the value 2 into the vector. Now we are in the last element, which is 1. So again, we have to put 1 into our resultant vector here. Now we have completed the first iteration, and we have to iterate the input vector once more. So suppose at first we are in the index 1, the value of this index is 1, so we have to insert 1 into the vector. Now we are in the second element, which is 2, so we have to insert 2 in the vector. Now we are in the third element 1, so we have to insert 1 again into our vector. Now look at this resultant array. It is exactly similar to this array. So we can say that if we perform the iteration in the input array 2 times, and if we insert the corresponding vector into our resultant array, then we will find the answer. I hope you understood the algorithm. Now let's move on to the code. Here, the code is pretty simple. At first, we are given a function, get concatenations. The input parameter of this function is a vector, and the return type of this function is also a vector. And into the input function, we are taking a vector to store the answer. Now, at first, we are using the first for loop. In this for loop, we are iterating the input array, and we are inserting the input array element accordingly into our result vector. And after that, we are using another for loop in which we are doing the same operation. We are inserting the corresponding element accordingly into our resultant array. And finally, we are returning the result. I hope you understood the code. Now let's move on to the time and space complexity analysis of this program. In this example, the time complexity is big O of n, because in the code, we are using 2 loops. So the time complexity is big O of n plus n, where n is the size of the input vector. And as we are using two loops, that's why we are considering 2n pass. And if we perform the addition operation between these 2n, we will find 2n. And in the complexity analysis, we should exclude the constant terms. So finally, our time complexity is big O of n. Similarly, for the space complexity of this program is also big O of n, because in the worst case, the size of the resultant vector can be equal to big O of 2n, and we are excluding the constant term 2. That's why our space complexity become big O of n. Thank you everyone for watching this video. We will get back soon with another LeetCode solution.